Hello, everyone. Jak Syn here on behalf of TourFiend.com and Future Daze, and today we're sitting with Matt Jordan of Cogex. How you doing today, Matt?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Pretty good. I mean,
That's great
under the
to hear.
circumstances, anyhow, right?
Well, that's true. I mean, but that's great to hear. I
Yeah.
mean, right now with everything going on, trying to make the best of it, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we know each other a bit, and I know you're working too, and it's different. But I'm glad to be making money, man. Got to do it, especially if you want to support being an artist. You know what I'm saying?
That is very true. I mean, we're going to work every day. We're grinding, right now, especially when a lot of people are out of work at the moment.
Oh,
But
totally. It's what it
we
is.
are one of the fortunate ones.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So today we're going to ask you a couple questions and see where it goes from here. Are you ready to get into it?
Yeah. Perfect. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. What are your top 3 moments performing live?
That's interesting. I guess honestly, I started playing in bands as a lot of people did at an early age, doing little garage shows, et cetera, et cetera. But when I started Cogex, it was definitely the beginning of who I intended to become as an artist, knowing that independently I was going to start making music that was going to be more or less solo. And my first actual full album was 0809, and it was just hard power noise. So I mean, it was harder stuff. But I got invited to play this like college show at a house like in the yard, and I was like, well, yeah, sure, whatever. And I'll never forget though, there were like 200-300 kids jammed into this spot, and I was playing super hard industrial, and they were so into it. And it was like an eye-opener, because I realized, I'm like, just because I like things that aren't typically, even in the underground, palatable to everybody, doesn't mean that if you show up and you do your thing that people aren't going to dig it, So that was like a seminal show where I'm like, I always remember going, well, you know what? Even if everybody in the audience doesn't love it, somebody's going to dig it. And if I dig in, it'll be fine. You know what I mean? So that was definitely like a big show for sure. There's so many little events. I remember. Okay, so as Cogex, as more or less an industrial and kind of synthy artist, playing at Das Bunker in Los Angeles is a quote unquote normal thing if you're doing well. I had a lot of contact with the club, and it never happened, ever, for some reason. Then I started playing with a friend of mine's band, Artifact Corruption, and somehow they landed like the last anniversary show, which was this mega show. We're playing with like Suicide Commando and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Eventually playing with like Velvet Acid Christ and all these bands that were very substantial. But because we were such good friends, they said, hey, why don't we play some Cogex songs? Like, because it's kind of BS that you've never played there. And I was like, wow, okay, well, yeah, let's do it. And with the band, we're playing percussion and everything. It was bananas. Like, it was such a huge show, and there were so many people. And it was that same thing. It's like we were just going in, and people enjoyed it. I mean, they didn't know the material because, I hadn't played there. But it was huge, though, because it was not only, it gave me that feeling of community, too. It was like my friends that I'm helping out within their band like me enough to want to, perpetuate my thing. And by doing so, it gave me, a little bit more of an audience, and it was a killer show. So that was awesome. And then honestly, in recent years, getting closer to the synthwave scene because of people like yourself that I've met and become friends with. And of course, my best friend, Jake, otherwise known as Protector 101, I wanted to play with him straight up, and his style had changed, and he'd become one of these synthwave guys, as you know, which blew my mind just as, being friends for so long. It was weird. But I'm like, dude, I'm going to play shows with you, and I can't play harder industrial, so I've got to soften up. And he kind of laughed, but then sure enough, we played Outrun the Sun. So Outrun the Sun was this big festival they put on. It was a lot of amazing artists that I'd actually liked and I'd like to play with, and Jake was playing. And because of my connection with him, I was able to stumble my way into that arena, even though at that point I was just starting to play stuff that would be more palatable to this more synth-oriented scene. And so that show was killer, even though the audience at the time I was playing, there's so many people playing, wasn't huge. It felt really, really good to just step into this new role for the first time, doing vocals all the time, which is something I didn't do before, not full time anyway. And all of a sudden having that element and having it be in a venue where it was actually mattered for at the moment. So that was pretty huge. So anytime I get to play with Jake, we're so close, like I just get psyched. So that was cool.
That's great. I mean, being able to see you perform live and being able to see you in your zone.
Yeah.
I know for me that was like, oh my God, this guy is got it. You know what I mean? It's like I've seen your music. I was like, when we were on tour together, I was like, oh my God. I was like, when you're up there performing, I was listening to your music. I was like, wow, this stuff's really hard. But at the same time, it's like hitting us in all the right places. Like I know you were talking about how you were kind of worried. You were like, oh my God, my stuff's going to be way too hard for this crowd, for this synthwave oriented crowd. But they really ate it up. Like on tour, they loved it. I know you were talking about softening the edges a little bit, but when you look at like Protector 101, like Jake, you're kind of going like, can you really soften anything up? I mean, because he's like hard, you know? It was great.
Well, I appreciate that. The funny thing is, Jake was very much came from the same place. We were big industrial heads. We were into hard electronic, hardcore techno, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Things that aren't palatable to most people, but like everybody else, our influences and interests are so vast that it was very easy to slip into other roles. But again, Jake did so very naturally. And, you know, by the time he was popular, he was doing what synthwave did. But by the time that tour we were all on, he was basically just playing hard industrial to some extent at some points. And it was kind of hilarious. Like you said, you're like, oh, you kind of don't see it coming, especially out of that person. But for whatever reason, yeah, I think because industrial as a whole and EBM, et cetera, is basically 80s synth music, those little elements that's creeped into both of our music, and especially mine, I think helped it translate, because people still kind of got it. It didn't need to be, you know, neon palm trees for them to go, oh, okay, no, I get it. It's still like, it's synth music, but it's heavier, but whatever. But I mean, I appreciate the fact that you dig it.
It's like, it's just hard enough and it's just soft enough where it like hits you in the right ways. And how do I describe it? It's like horror, heavy, electronic murder music, right? Because you can imagine you're like running away from somebody who's about ready to like run you down. You know what I mean?
No, so you know, all of my influences as far as style is like, I like, honestly, what's funny is I like a lot of what anybody in the scene likes. You know, I'm sure we like a lot of the same horror movies, but I was a big fan of space thrillers like Alien, etc. So much of my music is very sci-fi or cyberpunk in its roots, as far as, you know, as far as lyrics. You know, a lot of it's like about being a machine, or being a cyborg, or being a subhumanoid, or whatever. It's about being really separate from, feeling very separate from what you are, but also feeling very disconnected. But trying to connect it in ways that are lyrically not as straightforward as they could have been. Like I always struggle with, I wanted to make songs that sound cool, that sound like geeky, fun stuff, but then have a serious vibe. But that way, so that it doesn't. I think it was like it's like Rob Zombie. I remember seeing this interview where he's like, man, I'm tired of people whining about their ex-girlfriends and talking about love. He's like, I like cars and monsters, and you know. And I laughed, but I was like, dude, that's so cool, because it's true. You can still have a love song, but talk about like being a zombie who wants to eat somebody's face because you love them so much. That to me is so much cooler than just being like, baby, baby, I love you, you know? So like I could sing a song about being depressed, or I could sing a song about being a cyborg who feels really uncomfortable in this shell, and which is a new song coming up.
Well,
that was a really accidental plug. So yeah, anyway. But yeah, no, I feel like it's like it is harder, but like I think it translates if people are paying attention, you know.
And you really can pick up on that, especially in the lyrics of your music. Like you can pick up on that feeling of where you feel uncomfortably comfortable in your own skin, and you know, feeling like you're not exactly part of things that are going on, but you exist and you're trying to make the best of it. So
absolutely. No, exactly.
What would you say is your favorite album / EP that you've worked on?
That's really hard. When I came out with my first album, as different as it is than I do now, it was exactly what I wanted to do, like 100%. And I held nothing back whatsoever, or had any conditions or constraints. I literally made a hard power noise industrial album because that's what I wanted to make, and I was so into it. So that really still means something to me now, because it's very much exactly what I wanted it to be. But that being said, there are songs throughout what I've done in the recent C33 series, which is what like I toured with. I can't say anything as a whole, but it was like tracks that really like Machine, where I feel like I'm like, that was exactly what I wanted to feel like at that moment. And like the EP that I'm doing now, I'm especially proud of because it's a lot of what I've been doing and it's really coming together. So it might be what I have coming, not what I have out. Although there's songs on the recent EPs that really gelled and made sense. I think for the first time as an artist, I stopped thinking so hard. And if I made a track that I was okay with, I'm like, I'm releasing it. I'm not going to overthink this because I probably have had hundreds of songs throughout the like 20 years of making music that are just gone. I never released them and I was too afraid to do it. Now I just go, you know what? Like my first C33 was a little awkward for me because I was doing vocals and I was trying to do things that I thought worked. And now when I look back and I go, okay, that could be so much better. But at the same time, I'm proud of the fact that I'm just releasing music instead of trying so hard to perfect it, because I think that's where it gets better, you know? So I think the stuff I have coming up is going to be better and better. But I think in some ways, just the fact that my first release, even though it's different than what I do now, was exactly what I wanted to be. It really set the tone for who I wanted to become, was like this individual artist who did exactly what I wanted to do, regardless of whether it was palatable or popular or whatever, you know?
And it's interesting that you were saying that, like how now you're releasing your music as you feel, like whatever you want to put out. I know that as artists, a lot of times we get this thing in our head where we're just like, it's got to sound amazing. It's got to sound like, oh my God, it's got to sound the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life. But I think like sometimes we get lost in that thing where we kind of compare it to something else that we've heard. And I think subconsciously we kind of go, I want it to sound just as good as that. But if I put it out and it doesn't sound just as good as that, then I'm going to feel bad because I'm not going to be happy with it. But I think I think a lot of people, they have to get out of their comfort zone and get out of their head a little bit and go, you know what? I'm just going to release this because I think it sounds great. It doesn't have to live up to anything else.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I mean. Like you kind of go, if you think too hard, well, you can always think too hard, especially with music, because especially in the digital age, you can tweak something until you've literally ruined it in every single way. And I think most electronic artists do that. And I've gotten to a point where I go, this sounds as good as I could imagine it to be right now, and I'm not going to sit on it longer. I'm just going to release it. And I think that's really healthy because even if it's not perfect, it succeeds at being what you intended. And unless you're lucky enough to have, an amazing studio background, which most of us are just self-made, I think, unless you have friends in the industry or unless you have a lot of money, it's going to be as good as you can do at the moment. And the key thing is to not let the moment pass, I think, is just to do it. And I think I know more artists that are doing that. And I know I'm definitely doing it. I've just stopped being afraid. Because like I said, I hear some of my earlier lyrics on the C33 stuff and I go, oh man, like that could be so much better. Because now when I do stuff live, like I end up screaming everything and it's way better. Like it just translates better, just with the energy that I like to have live, it just works better. So like on the new EP, it sounds a lot like more like heavier EBM, where it's like, it's kind of militant screaming, but at the same time, it's just what I want to do. And so I'm like, okay, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to second guess it. I mean, like you have amazing vocals. I love your music, and it's that same thing where I'm like, this is Jak. And like, I have no doubt that you're not trying to do anything other than what you want to do. And I think that comes through when somebody really means it,
Well, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate that. I'm so flattered right now. I totally agree with you. It's like that personality eventually comes through, like what you want to do and how you're feeling. You kind of go like, well, with you, it's like, you have this visceral, like, this is my energy. This is what I'm putting out. Like, I'm just going to go full on with the force that I have behind me. And you also do it with the shirt off too. So that's great. Everybody in the crowd's going, hey, who's that guy with his shirt off up there? Like bringing it to the microphone like that. It's great.
It's funny because I almost always end up half naked. And it's funny because there's always somebody who's like, dude, come on. I go, I legitimately am so uncomfortable and hot 5 minutes in. And I'm one of those people too. Again, like I just don't care what people think. So I'm like, dude, I'm getting half naked. Like this has to happen because otherwise I'm going to pass out, but luckily when you're, I'm unfortunately brutish. Like I have that. I like, no matter how I act, people always think I'm trying to act be a tough guy. And so I'm like, well, fine then. take off my dang shirt, you know?
Well, we look forward to more of these awesome performances and more of the shirt coming off, if you know what I mean. What was the drive behind getting you into making music and performing live?
I think from a really early age, as a visual artist, I realized how much music itself spurred my creativity long before I ever touched an instrument. But I think for me, it really was getting involved in the rave scene. Like I'm a lot older than many of our contemporaries. I think maybe not as old as some too, but it's like I became a raver, you know, in the 90s, but I was always into heavy music. All my friends were punk rockers and metalheads. So the electronic that I was involved in that I was into was, you know, more hardcore techno, gabber, etc. The much harder forms of techno. And I think it was the first time in my whole life being a teenager that I was like, oh my God, like I'm a part of something. You know, you're in these groups of some of the massives in Southern California are 30, 40, 50,000 people. And when even a few thousand of those people are in a hardcore room and you're listening to the most obliterating electronic music you can possibly listen to, you know, and it's just literally punishing your body. I mean, 40, 50, 100,000 watts, you know, I mean, some of these parties are just immense. The physicality of the music itself, especially electronic music, and then the camaraderie of these people, you know, often you don't know almost anybody. You know, after a while, you start to see people that you see regularly, but somebody would come up and put their arm around you, and it's not, again, like you're not listening to delicate, happy, fun time music, and they look at you like, yeah, this is our tribe. And I think that experience, even though I wasn't DJing or anything, because the first thing I did was DJ, that experience made me go, oh my God, if I don't make music in my life, I mean, like if I don't do it, I'm wasting my time. Like I need to be a part of these communities. I don't want to be an innocent bystander. I don't want to be just in the back of the crowd. I don't want to just be the guy that's drooling at the front of the stage. So I think this person is so cool. I'm like, I want to be a part of it by being a creator and perpetuating it however I can. So that visceral feeling in the beginning, I think, drove me to do everything else. I mean, everything I became a fan of made me who I am. I'm a massive Nine Inch Nails fan, which for some reason has become uncool to be, which I don't understand. I'm like, I think Trent Reznor is an amazing creative force, and that was it. It's like I remember seeing the cover of the Downward Spiral and going, what is that? Like, what is this abstract art on the cover? And then listening to it and going like, I relate to this, but I don't know why. And again, those first incarnations of inspiration where you really, you know, those first things that I encountered that really made me feel something, I think just made me go, you know what, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to start doing it. So I think that's kind of, I think, the initial spark.
And it's all just comes from a place of, you know, you look around and you see these massive events that you were at, or you see the scene that you're in and you go, you know what, I want to contribute to this scene. I want to contribute to pushing it forward into the next generation. I want to just give something back to it. So I totally agree with that. And I feel that as well. I think there is an inherent need inside of us to want to contribute, to want to get out what we have inside. And I think when you were talking about, you were at these shows and you were at these massives and these events going, this is my tribe, these are the people that I love, and you discover the sounds and then you go, you know what, I want to emulate these sounds, or I want to contribute to these sounds, or I want to make these better in some way.
Yeah.
I want to add my own spice, my own flair to it. So, and Nine Inch Nails, I don't feel bad. I like Nine Inch Nails. Like, who doesn't like Nine Inch Nails? So, I mean, it's still cool like Nine Inch Nails. I mean, yeah, I get it. Some people are kind of going like, yeah, you like Nine Inch Nails? Oh, you know. No, it's still good music. And he is a great creator. He's a great producer. He is a great musician all around.
And that, you know, and that's the main thing is like, I was seeing an artist who, like we were talking about, who did exactly what he wanted to do. Unabashedly created music, whether or not it was, again, palatable to the mainstream, which obviously he did just fine, but that's because he was really genuine. And again, it was really made really well. So yeah, those things really, I think, inspire you to try and do the same, like however you can, you know?
That is very true. Thank you. What are you looking forward to accomplishing the most moving forward?
My goals are always similar. But I think with certain things that have happened, some things have come to the forefront. My goal is to constantly perpetuate what I do. even if I've never been a person that played constantly. I've never been a person that released constantly, but I make sure to always be creating with the intention of continually to perpetually be a part of whatever scene or whatever group or whatever scenario. So I look forward to not letting myself stop. I think it's become, I know, as many people know, like I'm a father of two. I'm a single father of two. And that changed my life. I wanted to become a father, but I didn't plan on being a single father. So that changed the dynamic a lot. But it also made me realize inherently that that didn't change at all who I am as an artist. If anything, it reinforced it in the way that I have two little girls that see their dad as somebody who matters, obviously, because I'm their dad, but also they see and they make comments that blow me away. They understand that daddy does what he wants because that's who he is, and that you can't be afraid to be yourself. So for me, my biggest goals are to continue to be me and to not try to accommodate what people in society thinks should be for a person of my age or of what, you know, like the fact that I'm, you know, a dad, etc. That's a big part of it. I mean, but on a more specific scale, I love film. I love movies. I love video games. I love things that tell stories and that are a part of the art form in all the different ways that they can be. I am dying to get my music into a soundtrack. And again, not even for the success of being famous or rich, but like some of my favorite composers, like Akira Yamaoka of the Silent Hill series, he was doing, I was a huge Portishead fan. I love trip hop. This guy was making trip hop with industrial elements for the score of this creepy purgatorial game. Like, to me, I was like, wow, like this is an additional character to the game and it perpetuates it. So for me, I'm like, I need to be a part of a story, whether it's a video game, a commercial, a short story, a film. That's really my ultimate goal right now, is like, I want my music to be a part of something else, not just for me or performing.
And that really is freedom right there. The ability to do whatever you feel inside that you want to do. And I think a lot of people sometimes in their day-to-day routines, they tend to forget that at the end of the day, they can do and they can create. They can do whatever gives them joy. I think it's very important that they get those ideas out, because some of the greatest things that we have in the world are because people decided, hey, you know what? I'm just going to get my batshit idea out there, and I don't care how crazy it is, I'm going to do it. I mean, think about it. There was a guy, I'm sure, a guy or a girl or whoever thought it up, was sitting around in a board meeting one day, or sitting around with the producers and directors going, hey, you know what? We're going to make a movie about sharks in a tornado.
Sharknado!
You know what I mean?
Man.
So I think that it doesn't matter how crazy the idea is. To everybody out there, it doesn't matter how crazy your idea is. If you have it inside, get it out. Get it out there into the world. Don't be afraid to share that with the world.
Absolutely. And that's exactly my point, is like it should never change. A human being should never stop growing, and an artist should never stop creating. I mean, it's really as simple as that. There should be nothing that changes that, you know? And I do think having new goals, like for me, it's like would like to be a part of something else. And honestly, being a part of something, I think, is better sometimes than just being a singular entity. You know, and it stems from even just, you know, being in a scene and being a part of a group or whatever, but also, you know, having your work become a part of other art.
And you are a part of things.
Oh, thanks, man.
Awesome.
Oh, thank you. You are too, man.
What positive message would you give your fans out there?
You know, honestly, I think is as much as there's a sea of creativity out there now because of the internet and social media and how we network and how we work together, there are more people creating and there are more people doing that may not have before. But what I would say is if you at all think what I do is cool, you like what I do, understand that I had no idea what I was doing when I started. I struggle every time I create something to do it the way that I hear it in my head. But the main thing is to never stop attempting. Because I really think that I know so many people that started to play guitar, or, you know, they started playing synth and they got some cool things going, and then they're like, you know, but maybe that's just not me. But it's like, you have to be fearless and you have to keep going. And there are no standards for success. If you make something, you release it, you know, like on a dying SoundCloud, and 5 people listen to it, all that has ever really mattered to me is at least one person goes, dude, this really did it for me. And I've been really lucky to have more than one person say that to me. So I would tell anybody and everybody who wants to create, be absolutely fearless, because you will regret those things that you don't do. And there's no time like the absolute present to perpetuate who you are.
You got that right there. You hit the nail right on the head with that one. Everybody out there, listen to Matt Jordan right now. These words are very important. You just got to attempt. You got to try. You got to try. You don't spend your life like wondering, you know, what would my life have been like if I had to just put a little bit of effort into it. And you're right. There is no roadmap. There is no roadmap. Your success is exactly yours. It's nobody else's. What bar you choose to set is yours. Just because you decide that one thing is important that somebody else doesn't just think is important doesn't mean that it's not important to you. So strive for that and be that. Embody your success the best way that you can. Thank you so much for sitting with us today, Matt. Thank you to everybody out there who took this time to tune in and watch us have this conversation. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for tourfiend.com. We have plenty more videos on the way. Thank you again, Matt, and we look forward to seeing you again next time.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate your time, and good luck with the new venture.
Thank you. And you know what? I can't wait till all this is back to normal, or to our new normal, I should say, because as soon as you get back to playing live, I'm going to be right there.
Man, more importantly, I can't wait till we get to play together again, man. We'll have to do high voltage too.
Yeah, exactly. High voltage too. You know what? Let me get Jesse on the phone over here. Let's get Janky Jesse on the phone. Let's try to make this thing happen.
Oh, yeah, I would say don't worry. I'll let him know he's doing it.
Okay, great. You'll let him know at the last minute. And we're like, you're going on tour right now.
Perfect. Exactly.
Okay.
All right.
Well, you know what? Have a good night, and I will see you again soon.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.